Hey guys, I'm Mark. Today I'm out here in the garden cutting some sunflowers for a birthday party I've got later on tonight. It's going to be my cousin's birthday. We're going to have the whole family around at a couple tables. We're going to have a nice dinner. So I thought I'd cut some of my sunflowers to put on the tables. I think they'll look pretty nice. But while I'm doing that, I figured that I would put together a little video for you guys just to tell you a little bit about them and what's going on really with this bed in general, just a bit of an update. So we'll start off with the sunflowers. These are Pro-Cut hybrid sunflowers. They're very nice. It's the first year that I've grown them, and I sowed the seeds right at about 60 days ago. I sowed them on June 16th, and the same thing with the Zinnias. I sowed them on the same day. And it's the first year that I've got this bed on the inside of the fence here. So I did want something that was going to fill out nicely and quickly and for not a whole lot of money. But these do a great job at that. I like sunflowers if not even just for cutting and how they look, but also the wildlife value is exceptional for sunflowers. The bees go nuts for them, and then in the fall or later into the summer, the goldfinches really love to eat the seeds. And it's a really bright yellow colored bird, and they come in here in droves and just tear up the sunflowers. So I'm really excited to see them. But anyway, I guess I'll get up and I'll walk you through. We can kind of take a quick tour of this whole bed. It might give you a better idea about what's going on. The whole concept of this bed, eventually, I want it to be perennials on the inside of here. Same concept with a big focus on pollinators and wildlife. So you're going to see I've got some black-eyed Susans here, and then here's some echinacea that is kind of tired. It's its first year. It's establishing itself, so it's not going crazy right now. But next year, you're going to see these start to really fill in and pop. But again, the goldfinches like the seeds on both of those guys. Going down the way, I've got some cardinal flower. This is a big one for bees and hummingbirds. But that's going to sort of be the evolution of the inside of this bed eventually. It's just going to evolve into all perennials, 4 feet, a 4-foot strip of one perennial, then it's going to go into another 4 feet of something else, and so on and so forth, all the way around the fence. But that's going to take a lot of time to do. I got to assemble my collection. You know, I don't want to just plant anything in here. I want to make sure that I really like it first. And it's just going to sort of evolve over the years. But in the meantime, I'm going to use things like zinnias and marigolds and sunflowers just to fill in the empty spaces. They're wonderful for that. Especially if you have a whole lot of room that you want to fill in with something. Zinnia seed, sunflower seed, any kind of seed that you direct sow is really inexpensive, especially compared to if you're going to be buying quart perennials or something like that. So you can cover this whole fence in seed, probably costs less than $3 if you know, considering what the varieties are that you're using. And then if you're using open pollinated varieties or heirloom varieties, you can save the seed after that. So it's a wonderful solution to that kind of problem, or I don't know if it's a problem, but something that you would be trying to do. These are Oklahoma mix zinnias, and again, they were planted on June 16th. I sowed the seed June 16th straight in the ground along with the sunflowers. So they're right at about 60 days too. And they're going to keep on blooming all the way into fall until they start getting some powdery mildew on them. This variety is bred to resist powdery mildew somewhat. It's supposed to be more resistant. We'll see. Typically all these taller type zinnias will eventually get it, at least in my area. It's very hot and humid here, which the powdery mildew, you know, it's going to love that. But for right now, they're looking wonderful. I was talking about saving seeds. When I save the seeds off of these guys for next year, I'm going to wind up having a whole bunch of different colors from them crossbreeding with one another. A lot of times when you get a mix from a seed company, they grow the seed out in batches, variety by variety. And that way when they go ahead and mix the seed all up, that batch, it always stays consistent from year to year. It doesn't evolve. So they would grow out the pink variety in one area, then a yellow variety in another area, and so on and so forth, and they'd save the seed independently and then mix it all together in those proportions that they want to give you the desired mix. But if you save your own seed, then you're going to get your own custom mix, which will change year after year. So I'm looking forward to that for sure. I think next year, or at least maybe next year, maybe the year after, what I'm going to want to do is, as I fill in here with perennials, then I'm going to also want to have a pile of zinnias like I have here this year, just because of the number of butterflies that they attract. It's just incredible, especially when we start getting into late summer and the butterflies really start coming out. So as I got a whole bunch of perennials in here, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bed on the outside of the fence, and then that's where I'm going to keep all my zinnias going forward from year to year, especially because rabbits and deer don't like zinnias, so they'll be fine outside the fence. They're not going to touch them. Here's an example of one of the, maybe just a close-up of one of these pro-cut sunflowers. You'll notice that there's some damage on the petals. A lot of that's to do with the Japanese beetles. We're right at the tail end of the season as far as they go. There's still a few hanging around, so most of that is from them. I have seen a few spotted cucumber beetles on these flowers. Now I'm not so sure if they're doing any damage themselves or if they're just attracted to the yellow and they're just there. But if you want to get around this, what you can do is just wait for that life cycle to be over, or wait for Japanese beetle season to be done with, to have perfect cut sunflowers. I mean, they're great from a distance, but if you got them on a table, they're gonna, if you're right up on them, like 2-3 feet away like we are now, then you can start to see the imperfections. So if you want to avoid that, you can plant them in a time that's gonna get you away from Japanese beetle season, sort of like what I'm trying to do over here. I've got some more sunflowers planted in amongst my sweet potato patch here. I thought that would be something cool to do because the sunflowers will grow tall and then the sweet potatoes will just cover the ground out and shade the ground. But this is another type of single stem sunflower, and this is called Sunrich Orange, I believe. Yeah, Sunrich Orange hybrid. And these seeds were planted on the 17th of July, or the 14th of July, excuse me. So another 20 to 30 days, these guys are going to be starting to bloom or in bloom, and that might be long enough that we don't see any more of the beetles going on. So we might have a lot more perfect flowers going on right here. At least that's the hope. I also have a couple other sunflowers on the outside edges. This is a branching sunflower, and this is Florenza. These were sowed the same time as the single stem sunflowers. So both of the rows in the middle of this bed are the same variety of single stem sunflower, and then on the outside I've got Florenza, right? Yeah, Florenza is here, and then on the other side I've got another one. I think it's Soraya is the other variety. But this is a branching sunflower, and it's a little bit of a different animal. It's a little bit slower, you can see, to grow plant-wise, but what'll wind up happening is it'll be blooming much later. I'll have blooms lasting on the plants longer, and it's going to be a more continuous harvest. Whereas with the single stem sunflowers, they'll mostly just bloom all at the same time, and then they're done. So these are going to be the ones that last longer into the season, and I can come out here and just keep pruning for weeks on end. They will get taller than the single stems, at least usually that's the case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stake them up with, I've got some T-posts. You can see I've got one driven in here on the end, and then I'm going to put one about halfway, and then another T-post all the way at the end of this row, and then I'll just run strings. As they grow, I'll just run strings on each side of them just to keep them upright, and so the wind doesn't damage them. I might do the same thing to the single stem sunflowers here in the middle, depending on how tall they're going to get. They're not forming their buds quite yet, which is going to indicate when they're about to slow down in terms of vertical growth. So if they keep growing much taller than that without showing signs of budding, then I might go ahead and do the same thing on these guys. But with cases like what I have along the fence, you may not need to stake them at all, because you can see these guys have only gotten maybe, 40 inches tall. So if you had them planted in a line, you wouldn't really even have to stake them, because they're just short enough where the thunderstorms aren't going to threaten them all too much. I thought that was supposed to get taller. I mean, I anticipated it getting taller than it did, but that's how tall it's got, and I actually like it a little bit better, because what I'm going to do is leave a lot of these sunflowers, I'm just going to leave in place, and eventually they're going to start looking a little ratty looking, because again, I want to leave the seed heads there for the goldfinches to come in. So by being shorter like this, these zinnias are going to kind of wind up covering them up eventually when they start to not look quite as good. So I sort of like them being shorter than what I thought. Anyways, if you want to continue on around, this is a great plant. This is This is a regular tall verbena. I'm not sure of the variety of this one because it's sowed itself. It's self-sowed from somewhere in the nursery. I just found it growing in this odd spot in the corner of one of the empty greenhouses. So I just dug it up and planted it in here. Wonderful for the butterflies. It's got a really long bloom time on it too. And you don't have to deadhead them really. They just keep blooming out of the same cluster. So the flower heads never really look ugly on them, which is great. And then you can see that the zinnias just go right on down. So, well, there you have it, guys. Those are my zinnias and my sunflowers. Excellent plants to plant for wildlife benefit. Excellent plants to plant if you want to cover a lot of space for not a whole lot of money. So for right now, thank you guys for watching my video. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you next time.